Welcome to Text Gathering Guide. In this episode, we are going to look at our base gathering speed, but also other ways of increasing our bonus gathering speed that doesn't require anything to do with your generals. So, to begin with, we've gone through the generals and the gear and everything that goes along with that, and we've got these percentages. But what number are we actually working off with these percentages? Well, we can find that in the keep earned detail, and if we scroll down slightly, we see resource gathering speed here and our unit, our value here. So I'm a keep 38. I have a gathering speed of 353,200. Now this number does grow with your keep level. So a keep level 30 will have a lower gathering speed than me, but a keep level 40 will have a higher gathering speed than me. So it is tied to you and your development, but as you grow higher, you can gather resources quicker. So this forms the biggest part of your base gathering speed. There is one other way to increase this, and it doesn't require any investment, any spending. It is simply your resource tile level. So the same as your keep, the resource tile level will give you a value of base gathering speed on top of your keep's base gathering speed. So I can tell you that a level 16 tile will give you a base gathering speed of 90,000. So as you go lower down the levels, the base gathering speed will also decrease. So this is why whenever you go gathering, you want to go for those highest level tiles that you can, because you'll be gathering resources much quicker. So that's our base gathering speed. So for example, with me, with a level 16 tile, my base gathering speed is 443,200. So percentage wise, as we've gone through, every 100% is a good chunk of gathering per hour that we're getting. So what are other ways apart from generals and general orientated buffs that we can get? So if we come back out into our city, we'll go to Academy and Research. Go along to the first one on the left, Advancement. And what we'll do is we'll go through the 3 tiers of gathering buffs that you can get in this one. So the first ones are fairly easy to get, and these are the level 10 ones. So you have Scythe, which gives you 10% gathering speed on food, and all of these first ones will be just 10%. You've got Bucksaw, which works for lumber. I believe it's Pickaxe, which is for stone. And then we have Furnace for ore. So these are your first tier of gathering buffs that you can get from Advancement. And as we move down, we have the advanced ones. So we had Advanced Forage, Logging, Courier, and Furnace. These all give an extra 70% when maxed out fully to level 20. And as we've looked at the base gathering speed, as you get higher, obviously it will increase in the effectiveness of it, but 70% is a good chunk of resource gathering to get. Yes, these will cost gold, speed ups, research stones. However, unlike other technologies where they may work militarily or help reduce your speed up slightly, these will constantly be giving you value back every time you send out a gatherer. So we've gone through the first 2 tiers. Now we have the final frontier, which will be the super So we have Super Forage, which will give you an extra 100%. This will also be the same for Logging, Quarrier, and Furnace. Now, to max these out to level 25, I believe it is either keep 29 or 30 that you need, with obviously your academy at the same level. And then if we add all this up together, this is once you have all the resource gathering maxed out, that'll be an extra 180% gathering, which is nothing to sneeze at. So those are the extra resource gathering. There are a couple of other technologies under this tree which will also help. So there are gathering march speeds, which will just help you get to the resource quicker, which saves, a little bit of time. And if you're constantly sending them off, bringing them back, you save minutes every day. Not the end of the world, but it's nice to have. And then the only other technology which will help with your gathering, potentially, is the logistics for the troop load. So this will be especially helpful if you're a newer player, or if you are on a more volatile server and want to minimise the amount of troops that you are putting in harm's way. So these all work for world tiles. However, what happens if you're in a server which has become a bubble or burn server, or just is too new that people don't understand the values of not attacking tiles and letting everyone gather their own resources? Well, your alliance can build alliance tiles. If I come out and show you ones, if we have one built, we have the alliance sawmill currently. So these have start from 500 mil available resources and go up, and they have their own gathering speed on this one. So how do we increase this gathering speed? So if we go to the academy, research, go over to alliance, and then under this tree we have alliance agriculture, lumbering, masonry, and mining. So these will give you extra gathering speed on the alliance tile itself. So generally you can get yourself a higher gathering speed on the alliance tiles because you have these extra technologies. The reason mine is only maxed out on alliance mining is because our server is just ticked over a year old, and for the most part, in the first year of development, you're in constant need of ore. So we had our ore maxed out the most, so I need to go back and upgrade the rest. Now we are using different resources more. So you have the first ones, and then you come down to these second ones, which will give you an extra 40%. But instead of gathering speed, this is extra resources from the tile. So this is in the same way as Jindiok would work on the world tiles at 40%, but also she had the alliance tile at 20%. This is another way to get an extra 40% from that as well. So as you can see, going down, we have a couple more. So we have gathering speed of 70% here, and that is your super alliance ones. And I believe that is it for the gathering speed here. So on the alliance tile, you can have a higher gathering speed than you would do on a world tile. However, you do miss out on the base gathering speed that you would get from a world tile, but also potentially if you're using Queen Jindioks or Constances. Queen Jindiok's slightly different because she does have that 20% from an alliance tile, but you do miss out on the majority of the extra resources you get from gathering. So we've now covered all the technology we have, because the rest of this will be, well, it doesn't have any resource gathering. So where else can we get some resource gathering if we're not spending lots of money or haven't spent lots of money already. Well, it does require some investment, but it doesn't have to necessarily be your hard-earned cash. It can just be gems that you gather, especially nowadays with the events recently that have been upgraded, such as Gather Troops. We can't see the rewards now because it's just finished, but they are giving out a lot more gems a lot easier these days. And if we go to the monarch gear, on the bottom right with the crystal, we have the production and gathering crystals. And when it comes to these, they do cost a pretty penny. However, there are certain levels where it could be justifiable to buy the necessary crystals to upgrade them to different levels. So if we go to compose, I can show you that a level 9 crystal will give you a 60% gathering speed. So it's great. But what does that cost to get to this stage? Well, on Evony Guide Wiki, you can see the total costs for each level. Now, for a level 9, that costs me 1,312,200 gems for one level 9 crystal. So, just over 1.3 million gems for 60% gathering speed. Early on, maybe not as easy to do. However, once you're settling down a bit and just struggling to find ways of getting extra gathering speed, could be more justifiable. It's also a great time to do this during events such as the consuming events, which happen most and are on every 2 weeks apart from about 3 days, where you have your gem targets. If you're close to reaching one, say you're at 450,000 and you need 50,000 to get to the 500,000, maybe buy 50,000 worth of crystals to increase it. So where can we get these crystals? These crystals can be bought if you go through the gems to items, and I believe it is under special. If we scroll down quite far, we have down here your crystals, the light for food, the wood crystal for lumber, thunder crystal for stone, and golden crystal for ore. So this is one way to get them. This is a way that you can specifically get one type, which, depending on how you're going to grow your gathering, if you're focusing just on one, this is probably the best way. But if you want a mixture, there are other cheaper ways of getting them, such as your patrol. So you can basically use your patrols to get obviously free items a day. However, you can get different things. So as you can see, I've had 2 different monarch gear. However, once we've used our free ones, you can just keep refreshing with gold if you have spare gold available. And then when you buy these crystals, they're only 30 gems compared to the 200 for the resource gathering ones, which is a significant discount. However, it does require you to be active, and it is quite time consuming, so you do need to weigh up the advantages of getting cheaper crystals for the disadvantage of it being quite time consuming. So that about covers it for this video. So we've gone through our base gathering speed, our technologies that increase gathering speed, and the monarch gear that also helps us in this aspect. I hope this episode has been helpful. Please leave a like, subscribe, and a comment of anything that's helped out, or any improvements you'd like to see in future episodes. Thank you very much and have a good night.